In my previous video on the hammerhead hull shape, I briefly mentioned the Wedge as a popular and strong alternative. Essentially a triangle, these designs pop up all over the place and with good reason. They bring a sense of professionalism and power to the battlefield whilst offering many great characteristics. Let's dive further into this hull shape and why it's deadly for those facing it. The Wedge shape is one of the most common designs across sci-fi, with the Star Destroyer line having some of the most popular examples. There are also various different vessels that use elements of a wedge shape but don't fully classify. Wedges are popular in sci-fi lore due to their intimidating and cold presence, but in sandbox combat games they succeed due to the list of benefits a wedge hull can offer a ship. The basic idea behind the wedge shape is it allows superfiring of your guns to concentrate your firepower directly ahead of the vessel. Superfiring refers to elevating turrets behind one another, allowing them to all fire on a target ahead. Because the angles of a wedge naturally taper, the turrets are automatically superfiring when on the edges. The dorsal and ventral guns can be set up to all fire forwards if they are staggered alongside one another, or if your hull's angle is steep enough, they can also fire over each other. The main benefit here is that you are able to make use of all of your weapons when engaging a target frontally due to the unbeatable overlap of turret firing arcs. If two cruisers with the same number of guns engage each other frontally, the Wedge will win, as it can make use of all turrets, whereas most other hull shapes offer a more balanced coverage. The Wedge also provides ample room to accommodate forward fixed weaponry along its edges, such as artillery guns, rockets, missiles, torpedo tubes, etc. This is also why they can be quite effective for fighters too, and I'll go into that more later. Many different ship classes can make use of the shape and make it work for them. Generally speaking, the hull is a flexible one in terms of mission capabilities, so if you're struggling to decide on a shape, you can't really go wrong with the Wedge. It's a safe and effective option across the board. The rear section being wide also makes great room for strong forward thrusters, making them fast relative to their size. Though subjective, these designs project a sense of power and fear into enemy fleets. They signal the competent and strategic use of a faction's navy and showcase their understanding of ship design. There's a level of professionalism associated with the shape across the board. There's always a trade-off, and for the Wedge you are giving yourself a massive weak spot in the rear, where thrusters are normally located along with power and other sensitive systems to protect them from frontal attacks. The aim here is to engage enemies frontally, but if flanked and unsupported, you could end up with your engines disabled or power systems failing due to flanking shots. Another downside to the focused forward firepower is the ship's role. You can't really throw them into chaotic engagements, and you have to use them carefully. Even a pesky bomber or two can disable a cruiser if the rear is exposed, so they are often best kept a bit further back where they can deploy their forward weapons from range. Because you're firing at targets directly in front of you, said targets will be returning fire directly at your front. Since bridges are most useful when you can see out of them, this makes them vulnerable to incoming fire. Some may opt out of a bridge entirely in favour of a CIC, though having one even just for observation during non-combat manoeuvring is useful. Let's have a think about ship classes and how the Wedge fares with them. As I mentioned earlier, the shape is flexible, so you can realistically make a case for any class, but there are some that benefit more than others. Fighters make very good use of the Wedge. Designs like the A-Wing and Jedi Interceptor demonstrate this, as they can mount large thrusters and heavy forward guns relative to their size, all in a compact and nimble frame. Corvettes and gunships can benefit from the same large thrusters and forward guns, though they will often be in scrums, swatting fighters on all sides to screen capital ships. You will more often than not be shooting at multiple targets simultaneously, so shapes with more balanced turret coverage are better in this case. Destroyers make excellent use of the Wedge, doing what they do best and bringing the pain with all their weapons in one direction and focused on one target. The Wedge complements this completely while keeping them speedy. Frigates also tend to sit a bit further back from the action, though due to the nature of their role, which is being flexible, the Wedge is slightly too specialised for most factions' frigate fleet. It can be employed effectively, but it doesn't really play to their role well. Cruisers and above are the most common wedges in Star Wars. We have iconic ships like the Star Destroyer, which just isn't a destroyer, the Venator, Harrower class, and many more. Given their role as self-sufficient mobile command centres, cruisers should not be thrown into enemy fleets alone, and usually have a battle group with them, or at the very least fighter screens they can deploy to protect their rear. Sitting further back from the action, they can make full use of their forward firepower. Carriers, like the Venator, also have a strong case for using a wedge design. It would be stupid to throw carriers into frontline roles, so naturally hanging back and using larger caliber weapons like the Venator does is ideal for them. The only downside is the lower volume for fighter storage when compared to more spherical designs like the Lucrehulk. Next, let's discuss maximising strengths and negating our weaknesses with the wedge-shaped hull. Mount heavy turret batteries and weaponry on these designs. Fully utilise your superfiring hull characteristics to shred enemies before they get close and flank you. A few PDCs to cover the rear is very helpful against missiles and torpedoes. There's no point mounting capital grade weapons facing aft, as it won't be substantial enough to stop anything quickly, so instead focus on your positioning and movement to ensure that nobody gets there in the first place. Make use of the ruts along the ridge of the wedge. Mount fixed weapons here to add volume to your frontal salvos, artillery cannons, missiles, rocket pods, anything you've got. You can even add casemate style turrets here. Always have a CIC or internal cockpit. Bridges will get shot out quickly. Do not fight from the bridge. Bury your command centre deep within the hull armour and fight from there. Ensure you have enough camera and radar coverage for visibility. Make use of the naturally intimidating and disciplined stance of the wedge by operating in structured formations and covered by screening craft. This also protects the rear. If possible, carry a fighter complement to assist with protecting the rear during fleet engagements. Cruisers and above should definitely do this. A well-built and properly deployed wedge cruiser can anchor a fleet and act as a significant show of force against enemy formations. To maximise their strengths, they should be kept slightly behind the front lines, ideally with a screening formation in front of them composed of corvettes, gunships and fighters to protect from flanking and bomber attacks. Do not target multiple vessels at once. Use your ability to focus fire all turrets to destroy one target at a time and overwhelm their armour and shields with a constant stream of heavy firepower. For destroyers, we will use them slightly differently. Wedge destroyers will be able to focus all their weapons off the bow and have large thrusters to boot, so with these we will employ hit and run tactics. During the start of a fleet engagement, sit back and take pot shots at enemy vessels. Over time, as vessels close in on each other, watch for openings to move in. Quickly unload ordnance and get out. Target their larger ships and the critical systems on those larger ships. For example, if one of your cruisers is moving to take on an enemy cruiser, dive in just as they commit to the engagement, striking at the enemy's thruster array. Get out, and you've given your ally a massive advantage and can help him finish the fight from a distance. For fighter craft, you're best off sticking to interceptors for wedges. The small volume offered by it won't give you much in the way of fuel storage, so don't try and force it into something it's not. Lean into the agile and compact nature of these ships to make them difficult to hit and able to strike hard and fast. I discussed hammerheads in a previous video, the link will be in the description, but you can actually combine a wedge and a hammerhead to get a bulky and slow but extremely powerful hull shape for dreadnoughts or battleships. With this hull shape you can mount turrets on the wedge, with heavy forward guns on the blade, which can also serve as a ram or allow for even more turrets. You can't really go wrong with the wedge despite the weaknesses at the rear. It's a solid all-round shape and will at least offer some benefits to almost any ship class using it. Just make sure to mount heavy weapons to take advantage of the naturally superfiring hull. Don't let yourself get surrounded and focus down one target at a time.